Hello, team. It is Tuesday, February 25th. We only have 2 days left in February, which is the craziest thing because January took 47 years, and February we blinked and it was over. I don't know how, well, it was a 5-week month, but even besides that, it's crazy how fast this month went. But it's here and there's cool stuff to earn. So please make sure that you are submitting there's so many things to submit for by the end of tomorrow. So let's go over a couple of them real quick. Number one is if you submit 500 net, then you will receive an extra 750 points towards your iPad or your Dublin trip. So that would just be plain foolish to give up, because anybody who's ever worked for a trip or any other kind of incentive will tell you that if they let it go to the last day, they would have killed for those 750 points. Jennifer will tell you, Belinda will tell you, Phyllis will tell you that when it comes down to that last day, you would beg with possibly giving up your firstborn child for those 750 points. So just putting in, or maybe the middle one, they're easier to give up. But those 750 points, that's a terrible thing to say. Of course, I'm not giving up any of my children, nor should you. But those 750 points will make a difference for you, and you're going to be like, oh, so glad I made sure I closed that up. I'm so glad I sought out those extra orders. I'm so glad I ran that extra little special so that I can have those points and get that iPad or to go on this trip. Now, if you put in 1,000 net, please make sure that you noticed it was net, that you will receive the new coming soon impression bracelet color. Now, I don't know what this means. I don't know if that means that the blush is coming. They want to get it to more of us first and then release it. I don't know if it's nothing to do with the blush and just a totally different color being added to the line. I don't know, legitimately. If I did, I might feel inclined to tell you, but I don't. So I think it's safe to say whatever it is, we want it. So please, let's get that 250, that 1,000 net in, because then you get $182 impression bracelet and 750 trip points or iPad points. That is quite amazing. Especially that they threw this out on the last week of the month when you tend to have business to put in anyway. So this was such a gift. If what you had was 750, hustle for that extra 250. You don't want to miss out. Okay, guess what? We're not doing this today. You don't want to miss out on that opportunity to get both of those things. Now, of course, when you look at the overall of the month, this is also when you're wrapping up your rich rewards. So you definitely don't want to miss out on getting the Constellation necklace. It is officially my #1 selling new item. I have a whole bunch extra because I have been, where did I put them? Where's all my new? Oh, here we go. I have been getting these every opportunity because people are booking for this like it's their only chance to get it. So I'm going to show it again in case you have not seen this, in case you're watching the recording. I know that those of you that are on the call have all probably seen this. You might even have it, but I know that a lot of you waited on getting this one knowing it was coming in Rich Rewards. So it's the chain that is, I shouldn't even call it a chain, but the beaded part is exactly like the small beads of the old silver unicorn. At the bottom is a giant, genuine rose quartz with all these hematite crystals. It's removable. As soon as you show this at the show, they go like this. Remember, people are sitting with their wish list, right? So they're sitting with their little thing here, and they go, and they write it down every single time. Or they go, what's that called again? What's that called again? It is hilarious. I wish I had a little video of it, because that seems to be what pushes them over. Because I think some of them think, oh, I would wear that sometimes. But as soon as you take it off, they know they could wear this all the time. And then when you show them that third possibility of bringing it around from the back and making a short necklace out of it, they can't even believe that one necklace can do so many things. They want it immediately. And I've been offering it as a booking gift because it is available on Rich Rewards. You always have the opportunity to be the past hostess. Please remember, and I know I repeat, sometimes those of you who pay attention probably get so annoyed, but because not everybody hears everything the first time, or it wasn't, who's new and whatever, remember that when you book a show of your own volition, when you just do some reach outs and you land a show, you get to be the past hostess at that show. If you have a show that's gone in your own name anytime in the last month and a half or so. So because we typically all do that at some point, whether it's your flash sale orders that you put in your own name or whatever, you make yourself the past host on that show. That's how I get all the encore earrings that I need for when I mail out to my hostesses the day after they book. Sometimes I'll mix it up and get a Moana or something, but encores are cheaper. And then I get whatever piece I need. Typically, I grab something that someone took at that same show and needs replacing. So if somebody took my one of these, Constellation, I don't have it anymore, then I'll put it on that. Of course, I direct ship it to my own house, and the item is replaced just as fast as I booked the show. If I don't need to replace anything, or I don't care to replace whatever they took because I don't need to, or I'm tired of it, then I grab an impression bracelet, because you can never have too many of those, or whatever. Add something new to my kit. So please make sure that you are taking advantage of every opportunity that you have to build your kit. These things are all allowed. It doesn't take finagling. It doesn't mean you're doing anything wrong. You booked a show, you're the past host. And make sure that you take advantage of that. Okay, so what I thought we would talk about on today's Lunch and Learn is our tendency to want to get out of the show. So let's say you've done your show, and you kind of feel like, I'm not getting paid by the hour here. Let's get going, right? And that is true. However, the end of the show, meaning like before you pack up, while you're packing up, while the bag is on your shoulder and you should be leaving, but you're still standing there chit-chatting, lots of magic happens at that point of the night. So I want to make sure that you know what some of these magical opportunities are, because they may be passing you by and you don't even realize it. Now, number one is that let's talk about the guests first from that standpoint. So when you have your guests that hang around the longest, some of them are just the people that don't want to go home, and that's fine. Some of them are your natural chit-chatters that just want to get to know, like just want to continue to hang out, or happy to chit-chat with you. What do we say all the time? People do business with people they know, people they like, and people they trust. How do you get people to know and like you? By hanging around at the end and chit-chatting. Especially if you live in a place that there's not too much before the show chit-chatting, because everybody's late, and by the time the last people come in, you're trying to get started. You don't even get there that early because of that same thing. So really, that magical conversation is mostly going to take place at the end. So they're going to get to know and like you with that after show chat, where the hostess says, you know how the hostess typically at the end, sometimes she forgets about that you might be thirsty, or now she's putting out cake and she's like, oh my gosh, Michelle, do you want something to drink? That's when I say yes, because that's also inviting me to continue to stay on. If she didn't want me to stay any longer, she wouldn't be offering me anything to drink. She would be letting me pack up and get the heck out of there. So usually when you offer someone something to drink, the implied message is, why don't you sit down for 5 minutes and relax? The implied message is, you just worked all night. Would you like a cup of coffee? I don't typically take the coffee at that hour, but I would typically take some water. I might even have a little wine at that point, because mostly everything is finished. So yes, make sure that you accept that as the social grace that it is, not just you know, are you thirsty? Although I genuinely usually am at that point as well. So now you have your kind of chit chatters that like to hang out at the end. So this is where you're going to get to know people a little better. A lot of times those are the girls who just booked, right? So now you're getting to know them a little better. Oh, you're a teacher? That's so great. You know what? Did I give you, you know what? With that being the case, let me give you 2 more catalogs. Teachers want one in the faculty room, and then it disappears in 5 minutes. I want to make sure that you have enough to collect your outside orders. So you're kind of getting to do a little more host coaching with that hang around after the show guest that's also your host. That after the show guest is also the person that's still thinking about booking a show. And in this after the show chit chat can absolutely still be turned around, because they'll say, sometimes they'll say, well, how many people booked? And if this is a show I haven't had anyone book yet, I might say, can you believe that out of this group that was amazing like this, the show is over and I don't have anyone that booked? And meanwhile, Sue, not everybody got everything they wanted here. And then you could tell from their face, they're like, oh, maybe I should have booked. I'll say, you know what? If you do decide that you're going to be the one who books, you're going to be the beneficiary of all the things people didn't get tonight that they need another party to go get. You're helping out Belinda because she's going to get another special at your house. And you're going to get all those things we didn't get on your wish list. You'd be amazed how many times you can get one more show booked or a show booked from those after the show hanger-outers. The other thing you're going to find are the people who kind of are coming around the table wanting to help you. That they'll say, do you want some help packing up? They don't care to help you pack up. They are trying to get near you to ask questions in a less obvious way. They think they're slick, where they're like, oh, I'm just going to kind of ooze on in here, and I'll ask her questions under the guise of packing up. And you're going to know, she wants to ask me questions under the guise of packing up. So you're on to her, right? So she's going to ask you the same types of questions that if you did the Q&A game during your show, but either she wasn't listening or didn't think it applied to her. She may be thinking, oh, she answered those questions based on everyone, but I'm going to see how it applies to me. So she's going to start asking you stuff like, wow, did you buy all this? How great when you can do a whole little opportunity night right as you are packing up your jewelry. Because guess what? Yes, you want help packing up. Do you care what the jewelry comes home like? Because I don't. I'll straighten it up when I get back home. Even if I'm going straight to another show, I'll straighten it up there. I can give some general direction. Sometimes I'll say, yeah, great. Put the same color things in the same tray. That's good enough for me. So she'll start doing that. She's handling the jewelry. Okay, you always want, if they're going to help, you don't tell them put the foam on, that's closing it. You want them touching the jewelry. Yes, you know what? Gather up each piece that's gold and try to put them in the same one. So now they're touching. Oh, I didn't see this one. Wow, that's so light. And look at what you can do. No, I didn't. She's handling the jewelry that you're now telling her, no, I bought the original kit like I was mentioning before. So, you know, it's $229. So I got to pick out $1,000 worth of jewelry. The rest of this I got with the hostess benefits of my party. And then every month we earn free jewelry. So most of all the extras beyond that are all things I've earned in incentives, gift cards, and all the other, you know, free pieces they send us and whatnot. So now they're handling your jewelry, imagining it's their jewelry. They're picturing these trays in their own house. So now, of course, you can direct the conversation any way you want. Is she already on your calendar? If not, you can start to maybe even bring that up too. You know what? I know you said you didn't want to host, but what do you think about even just bringing some people to our upcoming blah, blah, blah? Maybe you have a blingo, a sip and style. Mostly all of you have something coming up almost all the time. Invite her to something like that. Invite her to participate. So you're going to get all of these. Or that's a lot of times they ask the husband questions at this time when they start, oh, so does your husband mind you being out? I'll say, well, you almost have to be careful not to give too snotty of an answer, because you almost want to be like, did you go to work today? That's what I'm doing here. But when you're saying things like, well, you know what? Actually, he loves it because instead of working a 40-hour week like I used to, or like I also do, or whatever, this is a way for me to bring in a lot of income in a short amount of time. They'll say things like, they know you have little kids or whatever, oh, does your husband mind watching the kids? That one drives my husband crazy. Oh, does your husband babysit? Oh my God, my husband is like, you don't babysit your own kids. It's called parenting. But, that's usually the woman whose husband isn't accustomed to putting the kids to bed at night and stuff like that. So I will usually apply something else. So I would say, well, my husband doesn't, but my girl Lisa that had that with her husband, she showed him how to do it the first time. And when he saw that first paycheck, she's had a boot on her back every Friday night since. What are you doing home? Go do a show. Because that's a true story that she would crack up. She was like, I don't know how my husband's putting his kids to bed. I'm going to come home. I'll be lucky if my house is standing. But guess what? He learns, and it was good for the family. So you can draw on your own experience or those of a team member in order to answer those types of questions. So that's the guests. That's all the things, not to mention just the fun girl chit chat that you'll have that will make people return to the next show, that will make people refer to you. You can get them, when they say, oh gosh, there was still so many things I wanted. Did you join my VIP group? Then you pull your card back out. Take your phone out. Let me show you how to join my VIP group. That's the kind of light chit chat that you're going to get while you are still there. And before you know it, maybe you have an extra booking. Maybe you have a potential that you're going to follow up with. Maybe you have 2 more people. Maybe you sold a Sparkle box, where people are like, now what was that subscription thing? Maybe you forgot to talk about this stuff that sometimes I'll completely forget to talk about something. And I'll use that after the show time to be like, did I even tell you guys about the Sparkle box? And they're like, no. And some of them will take their phone out and do it right there. Sometimes that's more effective than doing it during the show. All right, but let's now talk about your hostess, because your hostess is most likely the final one that you're standing there with, because some of those girls do just go right home, and as you're packing up, it really is down to you and her, or maybe you, her, and one other person. Now, when you booked this party, I hope that you included in her hostess packet one of these brochures, the Style Your Success, which is the small opportunity brochure. This is the new version. You may have a package that looks like this one. It's the same thing, okay? They're both Style Your Success. It's just that they change up the cover. The layout of this one, though, is different because the new Style Your Success brochure, did you look at the back? It's totally different than the back of the old one. So the back of this one says, which Style Boss perks are your favorites? 30 to 50% commission paid weekly, choosing my own hours, being recognized with fabulous incentives and rewards, earning dream-free vacations, earning more family time, enjoying more family time, networking with like-minded people, being in control of my income and raises, earning a monthly car bonus. So I'm actually thinking that the smartest thing to do is to put it this side face up on your clipboard, because when people are take off their wish list, this will, when you're going to start adding it up, this is now what will face them. And then as they're looking at it, that even enables you to be like, so what's your favorite? I see you reading that list. You can start a conversation. This goes in every host packet. It doesn't come in host packets. You need to add it. And the words that you're going to say when you're booking that hostess with this host packet is, What you also have in here is just a little brochure about the business and the perks that our business has. You may not be thinking of trying it at all, but it's something that you're entitled to by having a show. So I'm just going to throw it in here. We can talk about it later. That's all you have to say, because we don't want people to think that, oh my gosh, all I wanted to do was have a party and she's trying to get me to sell. We don't need to, freak people out at this early stage. She's barely your hostess. So this is that new version of the brochure. I would really recommend getting them. They're cheap. I want to say it's $5 for a lot of them. Or yeah, Jen's, I don't know if you, Jen, you're nodding, but do you know offhand?
Yeah, I think it's like $5 for like 50 or $5.
Yeah, it's a really reasonably priced brochure. Yeah. So the inside is similar to the way it used to be, where it just gives an overview. It does give the overview about the commission. $400 in sales is $120 paycheck, etc. But this is what's new, and I felt like this was the most important change. So you've now given this to your hostess. Now, even if she told you no at some point during the host coaching process, as the show was leading up, where you're saying at some point to her, even if it was at the beginning of the night, if you said to her, hey, Jen, now remember, at the end of tonight, you're able to try out the business if you want, using the sales and the benefits from this party. So keep that in mind. She may still give you the, yeah, no, face. But that's because she's still thinking to herself, I don't know how much my friends are going to buy. I don't think any of my friends are booking a party. So, of course, she's not going to want to commit at that point to doing the business, because she's not even 100% sure her friends are into it yet. So that's why no matter how it's gone down to this point, you now have to take advantage of this wonderful time with your hostess. Now, during the show, and this is why I so strongly recommend doing that Q&A game during your party, there needs to be a time during the show where you are reminding the hostess in front of everyone that she's entitled to start her business. So, I wasn't sure we would have time to recap that in this call, but it looks like we do. So I'm actually going to do a quick rerun of how to do the Q&A game, okay? I know that quite a few of you I'm seeing live know this already, but for those new and watching the replay, I'm going to do it anyway. The way that I wrap up the show to make sure that this always happens is, I will say, all right, girls, I brought a little jewelry prize for you tonight. That's another use of my Encore earrings and all of the other little things that I buy in order to get a $25 special. So would you like to win a prize? In my 20 years of selling, I've only had one group say no. And even that still astounds me that a group actually said no. But okay, so I'm going to say a letter of the alphabet. You shout out a place or an occasion that you would wear or that you would wear jewelry to that starts with that letter. So if I say W, you're going to say, and they all shout out wedding, always, 100% of the time. I say, okay, great, we understand the game. Our first letter is B. Now they'll shout out whatever, bridal party, bridal, shower. Great, that is a great place. And B is for booking a style show, which is exactly what Jennifer's done here tonight. When you decide to have your own style show by getting 3 to 5 girls together or more if you choose, you're going to receive about a $400 or more free and discounted shopping spree. Whether you choose to have it in your house like Jennifer did tonight, whether you want to be a sip-in style hostess where, and you can give a blurb about your sip-in styles, whether you want to have it in the evening like Jennifer's having now as a girls' night out, or more of a brunch, I do brunch and blings, or whether you want to have a workplace show or an after-work happy hour, all of these are a choice, and you're going to receive $400 or more free and discounted. All right, our next letter is F. And they usually shout out funeral, which always causes a ruckus. But F is for fundraiser. If you have a school, a team, a cause, an organization of any kind that you want to raise money for, then I would love to partner with you on a fundraiser, whether we do it as a party or whether we do it as strictly a brochure. I can help you with any type of fundraising that you need, whether it's an organization, an illness, a person falling on hard times, anything is eligible. So let's talk about what would work best. All right, our next letter is P, party. P is for party, it's also for payment. Now you go over your forms of payment. Remember to say all of them. So you're going to say, if you're making a purchase tonight, you can pay cash. You can do, you can write a check. You're making it to Michelle Zito. You can do Venmo, Zelle, PayPal, or you can do Visa, MasterCard, Discover, American Express, or what I like to call the He'll Never Know plan, which is the $20 out of your wallet, the $30 check, and the rest on your Visa card so that someone at home doesn't quite know what you spent here tonight. Now, I've really started to talk about the electronic payments because a lot of people prefer it. A lot of people would rather do, especially people that can do the Zelle, or is that how you, some people say Zeely, and then some people say Zelle, but that's the one affiliated with Chase, and it's just a bank transfer. So if you have any of those direct ones, then you can, oh my God, I just got really good news. Sorry, I just got distracted. So what was I saying?
Payment. Talking about the payment, different payment methods.
Yes. A lot of people would much rather shoot that money out of their account because that's how some people hide the money. I've had people say, oh good, I'm going to Zelle you so my husband doesn't see it on the credit card. So,
or even like the PayPal account or the Venmo card, like people have like the different cards from the different places where they stash money. So I've had that too.
Right. And you know what? I always joke. I'm like, listen, you work. You don't have to hide your stuff, but you do what you got to do. And then I take the payment because I'm not in the business of getting anybody divorced. But listen, you do you, girl. Whatever you have to do in your household to get what you need, right? So anyway, that's payment. And then letter O. And then they say the office. Actually, nobody thinks of the office, which would be a normal answer. They all say the Oscars or the opera. I don't know all my fancy guests, but nobody goes to either of those places. But O is for our business opportunity. I hope that what I showed you here is that my job is super sparkly and amazing. Every time I go to work, I am at a party hanging out with great women like you, having just as much fun, eating the same snacks and drinking the same wine. So I actually started doing this about, it's actually 20 years ago now, when all I had was a little 6-month-old baby and a big fat cobra that I needed to pay of $600 a month. And my husband said, as long as I could pay that doing something part-time, we would be good. And I had gone to a different home show at that time, and the girl told me she made $200. So I said, all right, I can do 3 parties. I'll make my $600. That's what I did. But then that's when my husband realized, so does that mean if you did 4 parties, you could make $1,000? So that's kind of how it went down. I was with that company for 14 years, the births of 2 more children right in a row. And then Park Lane called me 6 years ago because Park Lane is the only direct seller that not only lets you start at the beginning and start with no experience, but if you have that sales experience building a team, then they will bring you in as a leadership level after an interview with that. So that's how I joined on here and have had a wonderful 6 years here, even better than the 14 years before. So this is your chance to ask any question about either having the little get together like Jennifer's doing today, where, when, how, what do you get, or any question about my job of selling the jewelry. Any question on either of those topics is not too nosy and will get you another ticket. And obviously the more tickets you have, the greater your chances are of me pulling it at the end of the night. So I'm going to set my timer. I set it for 4 minutes, but sometimes we don't even hear it depending on the volume of the party. So I just kind of end it when I feel like ending it. But so I set it for 4 minutes and then I say, okay. Oh, I'm sorry. I skipped a major. Well, you could continue on from there if you don't have an album. If you do have an album, you show it before you start the questions. Okay, so all right, so set the timer and go. Usually somebody blurts out a question before I get to say go, which is awesome because you don't feel awkward about starting the game. So now you start with the questions. So sometimes I find that stylists are afraid to do this because you're not going to know the answers to the question. And that is not possible because they're not asking you what is the root of the root square of 496. They're not asking you what to solve pi or any of this stuff. They're asking you things that are mostly your opinion with a few little facts thrown in. So they're going to say things like, how many shows a week do you do? That's usually the first one. So a great response is, I like to do 2 shows a week. I find that it earns me a great income. I mean, even 1 show a week is worth for a brand new person like $500 a month, because you got to make sure you get that number out there. But you may do less than that, you may do more than that, but you want to let them know within this answer. I mean, even if you were doing 1 show a week as a brand new person, you'd be making at least $500 a month. So, I like to be at least there, but usually more like 2. Next, because you got to get that number out there. They need to know that $500 to $600 is on the table for them if they do 1 show a week. That's the number that changes lives. Every financial analyst, everyone, Susie Orman did a whole study about that the average number that the American family is struggling by is $600 a month. Could people use $3,000 a month? Of course, who couldn't? I would love $3,000 a month extra than I already make, right? But for the average person, it's $600 that ends up on that Visa card at the end of the month. It's $600 in interest on one of their credit cards that they could, pay down. It's $600 in student loans, car payment. That's the magic number. So if you can get $600 out there during this game, you will find it more effective. All right. They ask things like, oh my gosh, I play this game all the time. Why aren't things coming to me? They do ask, so how many people do you have to have at a party? That's a really common one. Oh, well, there's no minimum and there's no maximum. So if you want to have 20 plus, we're going to have a big old party. And if you want to have a more intimate 3 to 5, just sitting at your kitchen table, you will still get an incredible shopping spree and we will certainly have a fun night. Next. Always say next, because that implies we are not finished and that surely one of you have another question. So 99% of the parties, somebody will say, what does it take to get started? How much is the starter kit? Did you buy that jewelry? Anything related to that is your door to make that answer happen about that the hostess can start the business, because that's really what you're trying to get at there. So you would say that is the question of the night. So to get started in Park Lane, the kit is $229, and for that you will receive $1,000 worth of jewelry of your choice, as well as, of course, the catalogs, order forms, everything that you need in order to get started, including a year on your website. Now, the best part of all is that you don't have to pay that $229 until after I get you started. Because to start in Park Lane, I do a show for you exactly like this. So Jennifer, if Jennifer's deciding to get started tonight, she is going to keep the paycheck on this party. That right there gets them. She is going to keep the paycheck on this party and I'm working for her. So she's going to keep the paycheck. All of you that want shows, she's going to get that paycheck too while I'm there supporting and still doing the party, because I don't want them to book and think, oh, well, then I have to have it with her and she doesn't know what she's doing. Okay, so I want to make sure they know I still do the party. I'll still be there to support. And then at the end, that's when I can tell you what the paycheck is, which is typically a launch party paycheck is typically about $300. So we know the paycheck is $300. The $229 is paid. We have weekly pay. That money is in your direct deposit long before the Visa bill shows up. You still also get the jewelry on the hostess credit as well. And then you are set with a rocking business, a beautiful kit, and you are already on the right side of making money. So that spiel's got to be in there at some point, because that's when the magic will happen at the end of the night, when you now do your host order form with your hostess. Because now, fast forward, we started this with, why am I rushing out of the party, right? So now the party's over. This is all still in her head. You're picking out her jewelry, and then you're going to flip that page over and say, all right, Lisa. So, well, actually I made Jennifer the hostess. So Jennifer, I know, we talked about during the party that you're entitled to start your business because you had this party. So I just want to let you know that right now, and I know you still have orders even coming, but right now the paycheck on this party is $250. So you already paid off the kit if you choose to take me up on this offer, because I certainly would love to work with you. And look how much your friends love the jewelry. Let her talk. Remember, this is an easy transition with the new version of the hostess brochure, because when you look at the hostess brochure and it's telling her what she's entitled to, and you're going through what she gets, you get to pick your 2 thank you awards because you're a February hostess. You get your credit. The last one is become a stylist. If you're not doing this, it is akin to not offering her free credit. It is akin to not offering her the hostess specials. So this is what she's entitled to by hosting a show. And we are not doing our job if we do not offer that opportunity, same as every other part of the host program. So, does anyone have questions or thoughts on anything that we talked about just here? Would anyone like to just kind of admit, like, yeah, I've rushed out of a show without doing some of these steps? Like, is there something that you heard today that you're like, okay, I need to start doing that? Let's share some of that.
I think definitely, you always have those shows where, you're so tired and, working full time, you just want to get home and, all those things. And, it is always the after conversations that lead to so much more, even if maybe they say no to a lot of the things. It's also about building the relationships so that in 6 months, they may be ready at that time. And as you're, having conversation with them, like you said, having that last glass of wine and getting to know them and who they are, that is also extremely important because that's going to create longevity in your business as well.
I totally agree. Love it. Belinda, did you want to say something? Oh, maybe she did that by accident. I could tell she's on the go. Yeah, I know sometimes you're tired. And listen, there are exceptions. Are there times the hostess is a little too drunk? Yes. Are there times where you have a second show and you literally have to go so that you're not late for the next one? Yes, of course there are. But try to assess these things in advance and do a shorter show to allow for this time. Because people find the jewelry all on their own. So if you're finding you're consistently running out of time to do it, whether it's because your hostess wants you out of there consistently, which means you've overstayed your welcome, or your show's on a weeknight. Weeknight shows have got to be shorter. People have to go to work the next day. Daytime shows, people are usually looking to get on. The only ones that tend to be longer are the Friday nights and the Saturday nights. Every other show tends to be a little more like, let's move it along. So if you're finding time is a consistent issue for you, you need to take, 4 pieces of jewelry out of your demo in order to allot enough time for that. People find what they want. And again, all of that other jewelry you eliminated will become part of the after chat. It's okay. It's not like they're not going to see these pieces because you didn't put it in the show. They will see it. Are you on an airplane or the pedicure chair? I don't know what you said. Wait, hold on. I'll unmute you. Say it again. Say it again. Oh, wait, now she muted. Unmute. No, we we can't get it figured out. Don't worry about it. Tell us later. It's a big mystery. That'll have 11 Nicole. Where's Belinda? Oh, I was right. I was right. I said, are you on an airplane or the pedicure chair? There you go. I was correct. All right, everybody.
Yeah, my nerves there.
Nice. I'm going next week. Well, I hope this was helpful to everyone. I hope that you will make one change to your show minimum and one change to your attitude about staying a little longer at your show. Because so funny, Anthony, if it's a show, nighttime shows, Anthony's in his REM sleep by the time I say, hi, my name's Michelle. But day shows, of course, he wants to know, hey, what's the status or whatever. And I'll say, packing up. And that means nothing, because packing up could still mean easily another hour plus the drive, because that's where the magic happens. So feel that out, and I hope to see more team members that used to be your hostess. Have a great day, everybody.